If you're a crazy huge Stranger Things fan like me, I know exactly how you're spending your 4th of July. Stranger Things 3 is finally dropping on Netflix, and it's gonna be totally bitchin'. This is the first season that won't take place during Halloween, and I'm more excited than Dartanian eating nougat to see what kind of weird Demogorgon nonsense the boys on bikes get into this summer. We've heard all the usual theories. That Billy will become the monster, that Mike Wheeler might die, that Erica is somehow connected to Hawkins Lab, and so on and so forth. But today, I want to go over all the lesser-known Stranger Things 3 theories lurking around the corners of the internet and in Reddit threads to see if we can pick up on some of the subtler plotlines hinted in all the trailers. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and today at NerdWire, we're diving into some strange theories about Stranger Things 3. First order of business! Shout out to our super nerd sponsor of the day, Ronnie M. Thanks to heroes like this BAMF, NerdWire is able to fund these ultra-rad videos another week. Want to hear your name come right out of my mouth hole and gently caress your eardrums? Click the link in the description box to see if one of our Patreon donation tiers sounds groovy to you. If you're broke, girl, same. The best way to help NerdWire continue to grow is by sharing our videos with your friends and making sure you're part of our notification squad. Now, on to Stranger Things! Mrs. Wheeler is going to die. This theory is a pretty interesting one, coming from Reddit user Karak and John, who clearly has a way sharper eye or way more time on their hands than I do.
Afternoon, ladies.
Afternoon, Billy.
Take the new suit, Mrs. Wheeler.
Thank you.
Like many, this person slowed down the ST3 trailer to notice some of the finer details, one of which is this dark moth that flies past Nancy and Mike's mom while she's lounging at the pool. In case you're not familiar, the dark moth is an American and Guatemalan omen that signifies death. The black moth is said to attract death, and that some may even possess the spirit of someone who has died. Sometimes the moth visits the person who's going to die next, but other times it can appear to the loved one of someone soon to be deceased. According to most of the internet, Susan Hargrove, Billy's stepmom, is the fan-predicted mom to die in the upcoming season, so we'll have to wait and see. There's also another crazy theory that Mrs. Wheeler is going to hook up with the Mind Flayer-infected Billy and give birth alien-style to a Demogorgon. We're probably not going to see something as crazy traumatic as that, but what a wild idea. Dustin and Erica hook up. The first time I heard this theory, I was a little grossed out because you don't just date your best bro's little sister, homie. That violates like 4 articles in the bro code. But you gotta admit the evidence seems to fit. Not only have the Duffer Brothers confirmed in an interview that Erica is gonna have a much larger role in this season, but Dustin has been trying to set himself up from a girlfriend since like season 1.
There's a slice left if you want it. Sausage and pepperoni.
Hold on.
He started off flirting with Mike's older sister Nancy and moved on to Max when Nancy clearly had her hands full with Steve and Jonathan. At the Snowball, Nancy even predicts that when Dustin gets a little older, he's gonna be a total heartbreaker, and this season does seem to be all about the party growing up and going through changes. Maybe when the party has their predicted falling out, Dustin will start hanging out with Erica, the only other person who seems to care about him in that town besides his mom and Steve.
Yep, code red, exactly.
I got a code for you instead. It's called Code Shut Your Mouth.
The trailer certainly sets it up to seem like Dustin is pretty lonely this season, so it's logical to assume that his unrequited love will be returned by someone. He and Erica had that kind of teasing relationship over the walkie-talkie in ST2, so maybe this theory is onto something.
What are you talking about?
Code Red, Lucas, Code Red. Bunch of nerds.
The Mind Flayer spreads its mind control virus through the rats. Remember at the end of season 1 when Will puked up that Demogorgon slug and spit it into the sink? What if that Demogorgon is how the rest are able to get through to our dimension even after 11 closed the gate? If Will spat the Demogorgon directly down the drain, it's possible that the Demogorgon took up residency in the sewer pipes that run underground Hawkins. That would explain how the rats tie into the monster. What if the Mind Flayer has infected the rats with the same virus that Dr. Owens explained that Will had in ST2?
The infected hosts seem to be communicating. It has some sort of a hive intelligence, and it's connecting all the hosts.
Rats have been known disease carriers for centuries and are famously known for spreading the bubonic plague. That plague killed 50 million people in ancient Rome, 1/3 of the entire European population during the Dark Ages, and over 100,000 in East Asia in 1894. So yeah, rats would be perfectly capable of spreading an upside-down virus to kill everyone in Hawkins. Come to think of it, the bubonic plague was also used as biological warfare back in the day. It could also be kinda cool if it turns out that the Russians had something to do with infecting the rats as part of an experiment to weaponize the rats with a Demogorgon virus. I know that people are coming up with different answers for what that green glowing stuff that Steve and Dustin find might turn out to be, but what if it's the Russians' vial of the virus? Who's the narrator of the final trailer?
You let us in, and now you are going to have to let us stay.
Right now it seems like the narrator in the ST3 trailer is having its own Yanny Laurel moment. While some people swear that it's Billy's voice, others are arguing that it must be Hopper. I personally think that it's Mayor Klein, but we'll get to that. Many are theorizing that the narrator's voice is even a blend of all three, signifying each of the people the monster will possess this season. Billy is the most obvious choice for monster possession because A, he's super evil already, and B, that's a pretty common 80s horror bully trope. I'm thinking that if Billy does get possessed, we're looking at a Henry Bowman and It situation here. Hopper was the one that threw me for a loop, because I initially had my own theories for what might happen to Hopper this season. But Reddit user Lumox theorized that the monster will actually climb inside of Daddy Hopper's meat suit, and that he and Eleven will have to face off in the final battle at Starcourt Mall. The monster is building a body. Did you catch that part in the trailer where Eleven wonders if the monster is building something?
It's building something.
What if the thing that the creatures from the Upside Down are building is a body to give it a physical home? Reddit user Pine Trees and Sunsets posted a theory that the monster is using one of the people he's possessed, such as Billy, to help it devour humans and rats that combine their corpses and spirits into a giant, gross monster body. The monster definitely seems to be growing during that scene in the trailer where the kids are hiding behind structures in the mall to get away from it, so this theory actually seems pretty plausible to me. The big baddie in this season might be modeled after the D&D monster Tarasque. Even though Jurassic Park came out in 1993, you've got to admit that the ST3 trailer has a few undeniable similarities. For starters, there's that scene where the kids are hiding in the mall that has the exact same vibe as the scene in Jurassic Park where the kids are hiding from some loose raptors in the kitchen. Then there's the unholy T-Rex sounding roar that the monster emits, presumably right before it attacks. But the real seal on the dinosaur deal is the fact that the big bad in this season might be modeled after the D&D monster, the Tarasque. Now, keep in mind that all of the D&D inspired monsters in Stranger Things aren't 100% precise to the D&D handbook. That being said, a lot of its qualities do sound like they could fill in the blanks about the creature in ST3. The Tarasque is an ancient beast standing over 50 feet tall and 70 feet long, complete with horns, a tail, and a reflective carapace. Essentially, it's supposed to look like a giant dinosaur, a big old dragon, or a really, really jacked lizard. The Tarasque is completely undefeatable, and it's said that if your party ever does manage to conquer it, it means that you must have had a really, really crappy DM. It's resistant to being frightened or charmed, in addition to every kind of damage you could possibly inflict upon it. According to ancient texts, however, the only way that one could hypothetically defeat it, if that was even possible, would be to lure the Tarasque into another plane and seal it there. That last bit is the most compelling piece of evidence to me. The trailer suggests that when Eleven sealed the gate, the monster got trapped in their dimension, so it would make sense that the only way to defeat it would be to send it back to the Upside Down and lock the door again for good. Steve becomes the monster. Okay, I'm personally pro Billy getting possessed because that just seems more plausible, but you gotta admit it would be a pretty killer surprise if Hawkins' ultimate babysitter turned into the Shadow Monster. Let's look at the evidence. If you look at the ST3 trailer that came out in March 2019, there's an extremely fast split-second clip of someone injecting something into Steve's neck. Stop hurting Steve! What if Billy or someone else injects Steve with a needle full of the virus, causing him to become a monster? It seems pretty plausible that something from the Upside Down is used in the injection because Will spends a couple of shots in the trailer holding his neck like something stabbed him. Also, I'm pretty sure that everyone has noticed by now that Steve so far hasn't been seen in any of the clips at the battle at Starcourt Mall, and during the fight scene, we even hear Dustin's voice screaming over the walkie-talkie that there's a code red in progress.
This is a code red!
The last time he was hollering about a code red, it turned out that Dart had escaped and eaten his mom's cat. So it's possible that he lost track of Steve when he was supposed to be monster sitting him too. Lastly, we see this brief little second of Nancy being pinned to the ground by the monster, and even though it might just be a regular attack, I can't help but wonder if Steve is somewhere inside all that blood and goo, targeting Nancy because the creature can pick up on his leftover jealousy for when she left him for Jonathan. Billy finds his redemption arc. With all the Billy is gonna be a villain hype going around, it's possible that Netflix is just putting a red herring in front of us to distract us from the real bad guy in the season, Mayor Klein. Reddit user Toxic Crystal points out that in the trailer, we see a familiar car racing over to the Starcourt Mall. What if Billy has a change of heart after he resists the Mind Flayer and decides to get revenge on the monster to save his friends? This definitely seems like a stretch to me because Billy is the closest thing to that coked out sociopath bozo from Toxic Avenger that I've seen since Toxic Avenger. Mike and Eleven might break up. If you get the Stranger Things 3 vinyl on pre-order, you might have opened yourself up to a world full of spoilers. Apparently, the vinyl comes with a bunch of cool 80s stickers, like one that says "Ice Cream for Life" and this one. Fans seem to think that this is a major spoiler, and that it must mean that Mike and Elle are gonna break up. I'm personally not a fan of this theory, but let's go over the pros and cons. The movie poster seems to show Mike looking at Eleven like he's torn between what's going on with his friends and his relationship with her. Notice how Dustin and Lucas are celebrating 4th of July in the background? Kinda hard to do when your girlfriend is a Demogorgon fighter, you're a horny 14-year-old, and all of your friends expect you to hang out with them at the arcade instead of go make out with her at the mall. I get it, junior high is complicated. Nobody knows how to use deodorant, hormones are raging, and the kids you grew up with might start to grow away from you. Plus, the shelf life of a middle school relationship is like, what, 3 months? It's possible that like any other young couple, Mike and Eleven will break up over a silly fight at recess. But I personally don't think so. Elle was just lost in the Upside Down for almost a year. You don't just call a girl on your walkie-talkie every day like Noah Calhoun sending Allie letters during The Notebook just to dump her because she didn't want to play Space Invaders with you for the 8 billionth time. I feel like it would take more than normal teenage BS to tear these two apart. They've battled monsters together. If they can survive that, they can survive acne and Algebra 1. If Mike and Elle do suffer a rift, I predict that it'll be a normal preteen spat that coincides with the falling out that the group seems like they might have in this season. Growing up is complicated, but I for one hope that the party will stick together. The safety of Hawkins depends on it. Those were some of the more wacky theories I could find about ST3, but I want to know what your predictions are in the comments. And look, I know we skipped over a lot of theories that are a lot more plausible, but that doesn't mean that we don't think that those things are gonna happen. Let me know what you think in the comments below, click to the left of my face for more videos, and remember, friends don't lie, you mouth breathers.